What's up, summoners? King Blair here. Today, for Top 5 Tuesday, since we do have another RTA season, I wanted to do a top 5 spiciest picks right now that are super underrated in our draft, and a lot of times are very strong and not highly contested. So if you actually have these units, they're quite strong if you know how to use them properly. So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and just go server. Link down in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So top 5 underrated picks slash spice picks, because these units are honestly really strong in their own right, but not a lot of people have actually quite picked up on how good they are. So again, if you have them, very good, not often contested. Now it is important to note that tomorrow we are going to get buffs to Wanda and particularly to Emma Lilius, who is going to shake up the meta quite a bit, but I see these units still being quite strong, if not stronger, once Emma Lilius comes out, and I will talk about them. So with that, let's get to the honorable mentions. An honorable mention, I'm going to say it right now because I already know this unit's going to be pretty good, but that is going to be none other than Wanda. Her potential of having stealth opening, there's a lot of single target based teams right now, and her ability to strip buffs and stun for 2 turns is incredibly potent, and it's just a really good control unit. I see the specialty change Wanda actually being a really spicy option once she does get her buff after tomorrow. So definitely I would consider picking her. Again, definitely could change, but it looks so good with the buff reduction and into a 2-turn stun. Definitely a really good control option, as well as an anti Violet option and Rylet option, as well as just a very good anti single target type teams, right? Because a lot of teams that don't run a Ravi, and even when MLS comes out, are going to be very single target focus heavy. And if you're able to slide in and either be faster than Lilius or go right before her and be able to stun someone, you're still going to get a lot of value out of your Wanda. So another honorable mention, I don't know if you guys know this, but this unit's broken. Again, not a lot of people pick him, right? If you have this guy, I highly suggest you actually build a team around him. He's only going to be getting better with time. Anyone that's high Emperor and Legend knows that this guy is actually broken. It is one of the best units in the game. But for the people that are out there that may not play as much RTA, this guy is incredibly powerful with the ability to give attack buff and immunity, setting up to some very aggressive combos, usually built at 250 speed on Warhorn and just cycles with SS1, gives cycling to the team, gives barriers, and on top of all that, does pretty decent damage, right? With this S2. Pretty nice damage, and the strip definitely comes in handy in a lot of different matchups, as well as attack break being pretty annoying in certain situations, right? Because you're able to potentially strip a removal and attack break a removal, right? Which a lot of the times can actually win you games. So if you didn't know, he's broken for the people out there that didn't know. And again, even it's like LQC, who don't see as much play, and the actual honorable mention who almost made it on this list, but not quite there, is actually going to be Senya. I actually do see her a lot for countering a lot of different types of cleaves, especially the rend type cleaves, because she can't sustain for so long, and she can actually set up buffs that can help you in critical situations, right? She can potentially give immunity right after Ran and make it so Samurai Seria cannot plant her bombs, right? So things like that are like sneaky like that like she can do out very good and really good at getting into Violet and things like that, but not quite there on this list. But now, with that, let's get to the top 5. Again, with these top 5s, they are going to be based on my experience as well as what I hear around there. But at number 5, we have none other than you guys. If you guys have watched me play, you guys know that I actually use him quite a bit, and I still am actually using him a lot. And that is going to be Inferno Kawazu. There's a lot of big AoE S3s right now, and even including Belian that do AoE attacks, right? And Inferno Kawazu does a very good job at punishing AoE skills. The thing that I will say right now is this guy's actually pretty hard to use, which is why a lot of people don't actually use him, because you have to decide what do you want him to do, what do you want him to be, right? Mine is trying to counter Samurai Seria cleaves. People out there may want it to just counter Belian. If you're doing something countering Belian, you have to make him 170 speed, very bulky with extremely high attack, and just have him come in one shot with his S3, one shot almost any unit in the game. And of course, with the vigor buff that he gets, very spicy. With Emma Lilius coming out, he's gonna get even stronger because you're able to get this vigor buff before he even gets before he even goes, which means he's gonna be able to land this S3 without needing to get hit by an AoE, which is gonna make him so much better. And I will definitely be using him a lot more with Emma Lilius. So this is kind of a prediction. As well as right now, he's just a very solid unit. I actually find myself picking him a lot in RTA, as well as using him a lot in Guild Wars and even in Arena occasionally, right? So definitely a very strong, powerful unit. Something to watch out for, of course, is if you don't have the right speed tuning with this unit. if you end up baiting their AoE, he ends up being bad, or if he gets controlled, and you have to make sure he's tanky enough, right? It's not an easy unit to actually use, and it definitely will take some time for you to actually experience how he functions to really be able to push his limits. But again, with MLS coming out, he's going to be significantly better. Right now, he serves like a really good counter to Senya Cleave if you're able to make him fast, around 240 speed. But if you make him slower, you don't have the greatest gear, you can actually make him a really good Belian counter, making potentially on counter set 170 speed, to where he goes right after the opponent's Belians, and then you come in with a massive pop with his S3 and just execute a target off of the face of the planet, right? So definitely a lot of potential on this unit, and keeps getting better with time, right? It's a unit that's very slept on. Again, also make sure you watch out for Polices. But now, at number 4, we have a unit that a lot of people kind of ripped on early on in the game when she came out, but this unit's really good, right? And we have none other than Milim. Yes, Milim is going to be a limited unit, so if you didn't get her, unfortunately, you will most likely have to wait for next year, and we don't know how she's going to be next year. But right now, if you actually were able to pull from Milim, she actually became a way stronger unit than I expected. People are between the speed set and the counter, with the people that doing the counter build doing some crazy stuff with Symbol of Unity, and even the speed build is going on Symbol of Unity, and they're making her essentially an extremely potent counter to Violet and to Rylet, because yes, both these units are still going to be in the meta, and even in Guild Wars as well, she's just incredibly powerful. But again, this video is about RTA. I'm not going to go too much into detail there, but she can function as places. In RTA, she also does pressure Landy a lot, which is one of the reasons we're not seeing Landy as much, even though it's probably one of Landy's best seasons, because there's actually a lot of things that Landy counters at the moment, but there's always that threat of a Milim coming down and just forcing you to ban and potentially putting you in a very, very bad spot. The big thing, the counters, the fact that she gets this inherent dodge, so she's not easy to kill. If you try to one-shot her, there is a 20% chance you'll miss. I've missed several times with Rylet against this unit and not gotten the kill on her. And again, of course, the chance that she's able to get a higher chance to actually hit these type of units with Symbol of Unity, you're almost guaranteed to hit Violets, which makes her a really good aggressive option. On a counter build, again, it can punish teams that don't have too much damage because she can actually sustain without a lifesteal set. So very, very versatile unit. Definitely does a lot of damage, and can also apply Extinction, which is really nice into a lot of Ruel teams that may rely on Ruel Landy or Rylet Ruel. A lot of people like those solo DPS teams still with Ruel, and she can definitely just come in, execute your squishy DPS, and you're done, right? She often is also paired with things like Amelia to give her that attack buff, so she can use Symbol of Unity and doesn't have to actually do the S1, as well as often being paired with things like Ruel in case she does end up dying before she gets this critical S3 off. You're able to just revive her. You do also want to make sure you watch out for Belian if you are using her, because Belian, again, takes away souls and can make it kind of hard on you because she can just hit you one time and remove your evasion, and then you're kind of dead on the water, right? So again, overall, really, really good option at what she does, countering units and applying Extinction, right? Evasion unit counter, Landy counter, very, very solid unit. Honestly, I'm looking at building mine really soon because she feels really, really strong right now. But now, at number 3, we have kind of a double, because it shocks me. They kind of do the same thing, but it shocks me one is used more than the other, and that is going to be none other than Briar Witch and Basar. So first, Briar Witch has seen so much more play this season. I see her almost 1 in every 10 games, right? I'm actually seeing her a lot more, and she's a unit that just outright wins games or forces a ban. If you look at the statistics website, she wins most of the games that she actually makes it through, right? Why is that? Well, she is able to strip buffs and apply cannot be buff debuff, as well as decrease attack. People are not running a lot of cleansers. The most popular cleanser right now is going to be Mediator Coward, right? And units like Rimuru rely on buffs. Units like Rylet rely on buffs. Even Crimson Armin, right? Crimson Armin, a very tanky unit, relies on buffs. Fallen Cecilia, if you're removing those buffs, applying cannot be buff, they're significantly weaker. She doesn't do too much into teams that are like a Ravi, but again, the fact that she counters Rimuru so hard and Rimuru is so prevalent in this meta makes her a really, really good option. I've seen a wide variety of builds on her, some being very fast to open and potentially even open into a cleave with Samurai Seria, right? So we actually see her and her other counterpart, the Samurai Seria, kind of as a duo, and you usually see Briar Witch fast and open up on like a Guiding Light to make sure that she doesn't get targeted by a Sid, and you set up very nicely into your Samurai Seria. And I've also seen the full damage ones, that she's just there to pop your Rimuru, pop your squishies backline, just do damage on the board, but not as reliable of the unable to be buffed. At that same time, we have Basar, and this one I rarely ever see, but every time I have seen, I have lost, right? Again, unable to be buffed is such a strong debuff right now, and being able to push back is also really, really good. If you have the really good speed gear and you can actually make a very fast Basar, you will be fine when Amalilius drops as well, because you'll be able to go before Amalilius, and Amalilius does not cleanse, which means they will not get the vigor buff, right? So Basar looking like a really good unit, especially if you have really good speed gear. But even right now, just unable to be buffed, if you've ever struggled against Rimuru, this guy makes him significantly weaker, because Rimuru without buffs is not as hard to deal with. He doesn't do nearly as much damage as a buffed up Rimuru does, right? So it's a huge up in damage. You deny him the big advantage that he usually gets, and you get able to, again, set up into Samurai Seria cleaves, right? Which is, again, very, very popular. And just any cleave that you want. He's still a very good cleave setup because he pushes back. And with Violet not being as prevalent, you can definitely use him more now. And again, even if they do pick Violet, as we mentioned, Milim's still a massive Violet counter if you do have her, as well as us having way other units. So again, Basar, I don't know why he's not used more often, but Briar Witch is. I imagine because Briar Witch does a little bit more attack than Basar does, and she can actually do a little bit of damage. But again, both are really good at what they do, and I definitely could see Basar coming really, really, really strong, again, because of Rimuru, how strong he is. I'm shocked I don't see him more than I already do. But now, at the number 2, we have a unit that is just highly, highly underrated now. She recently got a buff, and the only people I really see use her religiously are legend level players, or people that actually know she's really strong, right? So Bloodblade Karin is a unit that kind of has flown under the radar, but if you talk to people in the Discord that actually use BBK, and if you've seen some of these legend players use her, she looks like a monster, right? So why? Why is that? Well, because now she has Immortal at the start of the fight, right? If you're able to assure that there's no strip, i.e. ban Belian, right? Which most of the time that's usually takes away one of the biggest stripper in the game. If you ban that and you're cleaving, BBK is a unit you can build with so much damage, since it doesn't matter if she's squishy, and you can get the souls in your cleave naturally, and you will push her up with things like Closer Charles to get that attack buff, or things like Mediator Cowrick to get the attack buff, right? There's a lot of attack buffers that are really good, and ways to push up with Ida and Samurai Seria, where she can actually take her turn and can actually stun the threads that may have actually been able to strip her. She'll come in with a Soulburn S3 and just sweep the entire board, because this unit's S3 does just some insane not okay amount of damage. When I saw this damage, I was shocked at how much it did. And a big part of it, again, is because of the mortality. So again, they can't kill you turn 1 as easily, because they have to find a way to strip this, and a lot of the times they don't have it. And the S3, now it's made so you sacrifice the health before you do the damage, so you're getting that big boost before you actually do your S3. And I just remember my Rimuru, it's decently tanky, you know, 1.4k defense, 17k HP. I had a Fallen Caesarea Aureus, and a BBK just did 20k to me. It was a legend BBK, and after that, I was like, man, this unit's broken. And every time I go against BBK, it's usually in these one aggressive type team compositions, where you didn't bring a strip because you're trying to counter all these different cleave units, and then she just comes in and sweeps her team because you're not able to kill her, right? Just an amazing, incredibly good unit. And even then, even the Bruiser build, the Bruiser variant, if you do pair up with things like Amalilius that's coming out, or regular Lilias, she's actually really good as a Bruiser, because she sticks to the board for a very long time, especially when paired with Shepherd of the Hollow. So Bloodblade Karin, I could just say all good things about her. Again, another really hard unit to use. That's mostly why probably Legend players are the only ones that really use her, because they can really get the teams and the units that can make her shine. But I definitely do see her being as a really, really good unit. Again, every time I see her, I've lost to her, because they know what they're doing and they use her extremely, extremely well. And now, at the number 1, we have a unit that I'm not shocked that way more people are using, and that is going to be none other than Ida. And she's also here because she's about to get a lot better. A lot of people don't actually know what Ida does. She recently was buffed, right? And a lot of people kind of went under the radar, right? I mean, when she was released, she wasn't that good. She kind of got overshadowed, right? And not a lot of people necessarily pulled for her. Well, if you do happen to have this unit, she's going to be one of Cleave's best staple. I actually have a Ida, and I've gotten a chance to play her. The only time I really lose is if they have Violet, right? Because Violet does counter her pretty hard, but she's really, really good at what she does. And with Amalilius, she's going to be even better. So first, the S1, it's just a raw decreased defense, right? It's pretty nice, especially if the fight goes on for a long time. You might be able to land that decreased defense. Well, but now let's get to the fun part. You have the S2, which is going to be an AoE attack that strips 2 buffs and reduces the combat readiness of the enemy from 15 to 40%, and gives a skill nullifier. why is all these things important? And usually why you also get a soul burn that gets an extra turn. She's a mage, she can carry her own book, right? So first, the first part of the skill is going to be the CR pushback and the damage. It's really good damage, right? And it strips, which means you're able to pretty reliably land a full team pushback, as well as give yourself skill nullifier. And the skill nullifier is important in case they do have Belian, right? Then you won't be able to get the soul burn, and you have to decide which one you want to do, depending on what you're trying to set up. But if you do have the book, you're able to strip them and push them back, allowing the rest of your team to actually follow up quite easily. Right, so very strong as to skill. And if they do have a counter like Rem, or even if you let Violet through, or if they have some other type of counter mechanic, maybe even something like a Rimuru, then you're able to skill nullify, make sure you're staying alive, and can do your follow-up, which is going to be your S3, which is going to be another big AoE damage skill that has an 85% chance to stun, as well as giving you a 20% CR push. So not only are you taking away the opponent's advantage to respond to your attack, you're also giving your team a CR push to cut and be able to follow up with your cleave. Again, maybe it's a BBK or another big unit that's going to come in and do the big boy damage. And on top of all of that, it has this nice little thing that when the skill is available, you get a 20% CR bar push up on yourself when an ally uses a non-attack skill. This is not a once per turn, right? So whenever you use Ran S2, you get a 20% CR push, right? If you use Samurai Senya as S2 after you do an AoE attack, you get a CR push up, right? So with Samurai Senya, she gets a 35% just from Samurai Senya doing it, no matter what AoE is setting up for you. But now it gets kind of crazy when you think of someone like Emililius, because Emililius uses 2 non-attack skills turn 1, which is going to give you a 40% CR push. That's pretty hard to cut into Ida, so you're pretty much guaranteed to get it. And with Emililius stripping the buffs, you're easily able to just go into S3, even if they have a Belian, right? And if they have a Belian, Ida's the first one going in your rotation. You're able to come in with your cleave, stun everyone, and just set up into some nice, fun damage. So again, all these units are going to be so good. I could talk more and more about different off-meta picks, which there's a lot of, and they're actually really good. Another one I almost wanted to mention that didn't make the list was going to be Spirit's Eye Celine, because a lot of people still think she's not that great, but she's honestly really broken in the right situations, and I just expect her to get better with time as well. Really good unit as well. I'm not gonna go too much into detail on her, but essentially, if they don't have, again, no strip, GG, right? That's what it comes down to, right? No strip, GG, like go next, right? So very solid units out there. Again, I know the meta right now for RTA is not the greatest, and there definitely is certain units that are going to be stronger than others. Like you're gonna be seeing a Robbie, you're gonna be seeing Stena, you're gonna be seeing Rimuru, you're gonna be seeing FCC, right? You're gonna see these units a lot, but again, there is still some spice in this meta. You can spice up your draft. So I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Peace.